Every woman over 60 who stays independent well into her 80s and 90s has one thing in common. She never stopped loading her muscles against resistance. Not walking, not stretching, resistance. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you picked up something heavy and didn't think twice about it? Maybe it's the stiffness that greets you the moment your feet hit the floor in the morning. Maybe it's the way you've started using both hands to get out of a low chair when you never used to think about it at all. Maybe it's a flight of stairs that used to be nothing and now it's something you plan for. Or maybe it's a bag of groceries that seems to have gotten heavier every single year even though you know it hasn't. None of that is just getting older. Those are signals. Your body sending you a very specific message about muscle and bone that most people never learn to read. I've spent over 20 years as a physical therapist working almost exclusively with women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I can tell you exactly what separates the women who stay strong, steady, and independent from the ones who don't. And it is not what you've been told. Walking every day is wonderful for your heart, but walking alone will not stop the muscle loss that starts accelerating after menopause. It will not protect the bone in your hip and spine. For that, your body needs something entirely different. Today, I'm going to walk you through 3 specific strength training exercises. Every one of them targets a different system: your legs and fall protection, your upper body and spine, and something most women completely overlook that may be the single strongest predictor of how long you'll stay independent. That last one surprises almost everyone I share it with, so stay with me. Before we start, tell me in the comments how old you are and where you're watching from today. I read every single one and I reply to as many as I can. Now, let's start with the one your legs have been waiting for. The first exercise looks almost too simple to belong on a list like this. People walk right past it at the gym without a second glance. But this movement, done correctly and consistently, is one of the most studied fall prevention tools in all of geriatric medicine. It's called the sit-to-stand. Here's what's actually happening in your body when you do this. Every time you rise from a chair, you're recruiting your quadriceps, your glutes, and your hip muscles all at once in a coordinated pattern that mimics exactly what your body needs to do dozens of times a day: getting off the toilet, out of the car, up from the couch. This is functional strength. It's not about how a muscle looks, it's about whether that muscle fires fast enough and hard enough at the exact moment your body needs it to keep you upright. Here's what happens when this movement is neglected. The muscles around your hips and knees quietly weaken, and you start compensating without even noticing, pushing off with your arms, leaning further forward, avoiding low chairs altogether. That compensation becomes a habit, and that habit is often the last stop before a fall, because the muscles you'd need in that split second of losing your balance simply aren't strong enough to catch you in time. Researchers have looked closely at this. Structured strength and balance programs built around movements like the sit-to-stand have been associated with reductions in fall risk ranging from roughly 20 to 45% in community-dwelling older adults, according to a recent systematic review of randomized controlled trials in fall prevention. That is not a small number. That is the difference between an independent life and a life that starts to shrink around what you're afraid might happen. Here's exactly how to do it. Sit toward the front edge of a sturdy chair, one that won't slide, with your feet flat on the floor, hip-width apart. Lean your chest slightly forward over your toes, then press through your heels and slowly stand all the way up, squeezing your glutes at the top. Pause for 1 full second standing tall, then lower yourself back down slowly, taking a full 3 to 4 seconds on the way down. That slow lowering is where much of the strength building actually happens. Start with 1 set of 10 3 times a week. If you need it, keep a countertop or sturdy table in front of you to lightly touch for balance, or place a cushion on the chair to raise the seat height if a full range feels like too much at first. As it gets easier, slow the movement even further, or try it with your arms crossed over your chest instead of using them for momentum. This is one of the first exercises physical therapists reach for with our patients, precisely because it rebuilds the exact strength you rely on dozens of times a day, without you ever noticing. And what it gives back is not just stronger legs, it's the freedom to stand up in a crowded restaurant, off a low couch at a grandchild's house, or out of an aeroplane seat without a single moment of hesitation. Before we move to the next one, I want to say if this kind of calm, practical guidance is useful to you, consider subscribing. No pressure at all, just support whenever you're ready for it, from someone who genuinely wants to see you stay strong. Because the strength you build in these small, quiet moments isn't really about muscle at all. It's about walking into every room of your life exactly the way you want to. Steady, capable, and entirely your own. This second exercise addresses your upper back and spine, and it matters more than most women realize. It's called the seated or standing row. Here's the mechanism. After menopause, the drop in estrogen accelerates bone loss throughout the skeleton, but the spine is one of the areas hit hardest. At the same time, the muscles of your upper back, the ones that pull your shoulder blades together and hold you upright, tend to weaken from years of sitting, driving, and looking down at screens. When those muscles weaken, your posture rounds forward, which places even more pressure on the vertebrae in your upper spine. Left unaddressed, this shows up as the rounded, stooped posture you may have noticed in older relatives, what's sometimes called a dowager's hump. But before it's visible, it shows up as a stiff neck by evening, shoulders that ache from carrying a purse, and a gradual loss of the ability to look up comfortably, reach a high shelf, or stand tall for a photo. This isn't just about how you look. Bone responds directly to the mechanical load placed on it, and resistance training is one of the few things proven to help preserve it. A systematic review and meta-analysis of postmenopausal women, published in the Journal of Orthopedic Surgery and Research, found that structured resistance training produced meaningful improvements in bone mineral density at the spine and hip, with researchers noting that moderate to higher intensity training performed roughly 3 times a week appeared most effective. That's not a small cosmetic benefit. That's your body actively rebuilding the very structure that protects you from fracture. Here's how to do it. You'll want a light resistance band, though even a small pair of hand weights will work. If seated, sit tall on a sturdy chair with the band anchored in front of you at chest height, or loop it around a door handle. Hold one end in each hand, arms extended forward. Slowly pull your elbows back, squeezing your shoulder blades together as though you're trying to hold a pencil between them, keeping your shoulders down away from your ears. Hold that squeeze for 2 seconds, then release slowly. Aim for 2 sets of 12, 3 times a week. If standing feels unsteady, always do this seated with your feet firmly planted. As it gets easier, increase the resistance of the band slightly, or slow the release down even further to 4 seconds. This is a movement I recommend to nearly every woman I treat over 60, because the payoff is not only a stronger spine, it's standing taller in every photograph, feeling steady reaching for a top shelf, and carrying yourself through a room with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from a body that simply works the way it should. This third one is the one that surprises people most because almost nobody thinks of it as an exercise at all. It's not a movement you'll find in most senior fitness classes, but it may be the single strongest predictor doctors have for how long a woman stays independent. It's called the loaded carry. Here's what's happening in your body. When you carry weight at your sides while walking, think of carrying 2 grocery bags, or 2 dumbbells, or even 2 watering cans. You're forcing your hands, forearms, shoulders, and core to work together to keep you upright and stable under load. This single movement trains your grip strength, which turns out to be one of the most telling measures of overall muscle health in the entire body. Your grip doesn't work in isolation. It's a window into the strength of everything connected to it. Here's what happens when this goes untrained. Grip strength quietly declines with age, and as it does, so does the strength of the muscles around it, often faster than people realize because nobody's checking. This shows up as jars that suddenly feel impossible to open, a harder time carrying anything with both hands full, and a subtle loss of confidence in your own hands and arms that starts to shape what you avoid doing altogether.
The research on this is striking. In a meta-analysis of nearly 2 million adults, muscular strength, largely measured through grip strength, was found to be one of the most consistent predictors of all-cause mortality in apparently healthy populations. Separately, a 2018 study published in the journal Age and Aging found that older adults with weaker grip strength were significantly more likely to experience a fall over the following year. Physicians increasingly use grip strength as a simple, fast screening tool for frailty, because when it declines, it tends to signal that strength is declining everywhere else too. Here's exactly how to do it. Choose 2 moderately heavy items you can hold comfortably for a short walk: a pair of light dumbbells, filled water bottles, or even 2 sturdy shopping bags. Stand tall, shoulders back, core gently engaged. Hold one in each hand at your sides, arms relaxed and straight. Walk slowly and deliberately for 30 to 40 seconds, focusing on standing as tall as possible the entire time, without letting your shoulders round forward or your grip loosen. Rest for a minute. Repeat 3 times, 2 to 3 times a week. If balance is a concern, do this in a hallway near a wall you can reach out and touch, or simply walk back and forth across a room where furniture is nearby for support. As this becomes easier, increase the weight slightly or extend the carry to 60 seconds. This is one of the simplest exercises in existence and also one of the most quietly powerful, which is exactly why it tends to get overlooked. What it gives back goes far beyond your hands. It's the confidence to carry your own suitcase through an airport, to hold a grandchild without a flicker of hesitation, and to trust your own body in the small physical moments that make up an independent life. 3 exercises, 3 systems, and together they cover far more ground than any single walk or stretch ever could. Let's bring this together. The sit-to-stand rebuilds the leg and hip strength that keeps you upright and protects you from falls. The row rebuilds the strength in your upper back that protects your spine, your posture, and your bone density. And the loaded carry strengthens your grip, a small movement that reflects and protects the strength of your entire body. Here's the most important insight I promised you at the start, the one I want you to carry with you long after this video ends. Falls and frailty are almost never caused by weakness alone. They're caused by a body that stopped practicing being strong under real everyday demands. Muscle doesn't disappear all at once. It fades quietly in the exact movements you stop doing, the heavy bag you start avoiding, the low chair you stop sitting in, the jar you hand to someone else to open. Every one of those small avoidances is a rehearsal for dependence, and every one of these 3 exercises is a rehearsal for the opposite. This doesn't require a gym membership. It doesn't require equipment beyond a sturdy chair, a resistance band, and something heavy enough to carry across a room. It doesn't require intensity, and it certainly doesn't require pushing yourself until you're exhausted. What it requires is consistency. A few short sessions a week done with good form for the rest of your life. That's the whole secret. Not intensity, consistency. I'd love to know which of these 3 feels like the one your body has been missing most. Tell me in the comments, along with how it feels the first time you try it. I read every comment, and I mean that.
If this kind of calm, practical guidance is helpful to you, consider subscribing. No pressure, just support whenever you're ready for it, from someone who genuinely wants to see you stay strong. Because the strength you build in these small, quiet moments isn't really about muscle at all. It's about walking into every room of your life exactly the way you want to, steady, capable, and entirely your own.